Good afternoon. We have some breaking news. What in the heck is going on right now? This was not what I was expecting on a Saturday afternoon. But a few Saturdays ago, we had Ohtani. And now we got Chris freaking Sale. I don't know what the heck to even think right now. How you doing, everyone? My goodness. Listen, I'm not trying to be Giraffe Neck Robbie here, okay? I'm not trying to make this all about the Red Sox all the time. It's not my fault. Don't blame me. The Red Sox are they're making moves right now. I don't know what is happening. My brain can't process anything at this point. I don't know what's even happening right now. What is going on? This was probably the last move I expected to happen. But when you really think about it, it really makes so much sense. And in my opinion, why didn't we think of this before, right? We've been, Red Sox Twitter, we've been kind of raving over the last week about maybe the possibility of Kenley Jansen being moved. And you got to think, well, Kenley Jansen, right? One more year left on that deal, $16 million salary. So the Red Sox were trying to move salary, right? At least according to these small little reports out there that the Red Sox were gauging what they could get for Kenley Jansen. And of course, you think of Chris Sale, right? But you're thinking, there's no way they trade Chris Sale. But that thought never even came up in anyone's brains. And if it did, good for you. It definitely didn't with me, because I figured Chris Sale, he's been injury prone, right? He is making a decent amount of cash. That's the last guy you would think that would get traded. But really, when you kind of put all the pieces together, when you connect all the dots, it really makes sense. And then go back to the Braves on their side of things for so long. Remember, they were connected with Dylan Cease. They were connected at one point with possibly Tyler Glasnow. I guess they said, screw the White Sox. We're going to the other Sox, and we're going to go get a picture there. Because really, when you think about it, Chris Sale, at this point, he's basically like a 3 in your rotation. He would have been the opening day starter for the Red Sox simply out of respect. But really, when you think about it, he was simply going to be your 3 at this point, unless he really could have shown that he could maybe get back to some of those older numbers that he was putting up. We're reacting to this trade literally. Jared Carrabis, man, this guy put out something like 20 minutes ago or like 25 minutes ago. He put a video of Chris Sale closing out the 2018 World Series. Jared Carrabis, one thing that he's very good at, and I'm always on top of it, anytime he puts something out there without context, something is happening. And I'll even show you what I put. And I was dead serious when I put this. I was kind of joking, but I was dead serious when I wrote this back, or when I commented on this. So he put out this tweet a little earlier. Let me show you. So here we go, sharing the screen. So he put out this video, Chris Sale reacting, or not Rich. I can't even talk right now. Chris Sale closing out the World Series in 2018. No words, nothing. I'm thinking, there can't be something to this, right? There can't be. There can't be. Maybe he's just reminiscing. Maybe he's sad. Maybe he's thinking here, he wants to think back to the old times, right? Maybe. And I even saw people saying, oh my goodness, is Chris Sale going to be the closer now of the Red Sox? I'm like, no, you're not paying this guy this much money to be your closer, right? He was making $26 million. I think he's making 28.5. He's actually the highest paid player on the Braves now. I'm thinking there's no way they're paying that guy this much money to be the closer. So I'm thinking, why is he putting this video? I don't know if he's just bored on a Saturday and he's just watching some old clips. Maybe he wants to have some fun, stir the pot. I'm thinking, no, there's something to this. So I actually commented saying, so what you're saying is the Red Sox are trading Chris Sale. What else could it have been, right? Because I'm also thinking, too, maybe it was this, or maybe he got word, maybe he was hurt or injured or something. Maybe he fell off his bike again. I don't know. Or maybe it was good news. Maybe Chris Sale had looked good at a bullpen or something, during an offseason workout. I don't know. I'm thinking it had to be something, but I still had in my head, are they trading him, right? And then when I saw the Braves, I'm thinking, wow, this makes so much sense. The Red Sox have been trying to clear some payroll, which, listen, the Red Sox, I put out a long tweet last night. If you go follow me on X, I put out a long tweet kind of going over the payroll, right? Go follow Red Sox payroll on X. He has a very, very effectively put together spreadsheet on the Red Sox payroll, but it also includes little things that you might not be thinking of, like medical expenses and whatnot. So the Red Sox payroll before this was right around like 208, 209 million. So I'm thinking, like, listen, John Henry, this guy, he's trying to build like the new Fenway Corners. He's trying to put all that together. He's trying to get a basketball team. He's been looking for investments or new investors. He got LeBron to increase his equity. He's now a lifetime partner. So I'm thinking, like, John Henry, he's probably not going to want to spend a whole lot of money. And he definitely will not want to go over that luxury tax, go over the CBT. Go look at the Yankees, the Mets, and the Padres from last year. Look how much they got hit with luxury tax penalties, and they didn't even make the postseason. While you had so many teams, while some of them did go over the luxury tax, they didn't get really penalized as hard as the Yankees, the Mets, and the Padres did. But they're having success. That's what John Henry wants. He wants to build a sustainable, successful franchise, a winning team year to year without having to spend a whole ton of money. Why do you think Dave Dombrowski isn't there anymore? Because Dave Dombrowski was like, come on, give me that money. I want to go get this guy. I want to go get this pitcher. I want to go get this hitter. John Henry said, all right, enough's enough. See you later, Dave. We loved you. Thank you for the World Series, but I can't keep spending this money. I got other money to spend. So, hey, hate John Henry all you want, but it is what it is at the end of the day. So I'm thinking, the Red Sox, they don't have a lot of room under that luxury tax. So I'm thinking, all right, yeah, Kenley Jansen, that makes sense to trade him, get rid of some of that payroll. And it gives them a little bit more flexibility. Now, they got a ton of payroll room now. So now, this really opens up a lot of possibilities for the Red Sox. But let's talk about Chris Sale here for a second. How does this affect? Well, actually, let's take a look at the trade first and foremost. I don't know if there is any other reports out of any money. I did see that Chris Sale, he did waive his no-trade clause. That was also something. That's another thing, too. It's like you're thinking he had the no-trade clause. So I'm thinking, man, he's probably not going anywhere, right? So I'm trying, is there anything about cash or anything like that? Because I'll tell you right now, this is a pretty lopsided trade on baseball trade values. However, baseball trade values is not always going to approve the trades because, again, it's impossible for their algorithms to assess what teams are really looking to do, team needs, team philosophies, how they value players. It's never going to be bang, bang. And I see so many people, they just like to get onto this saying, oh, this is the worst website. This is horrible. So, yeah, it's never going to be perfect because it's impossible for simply just the algorithm to pick up on what do the Braves need, what do the Red Sox need, what are these teams trying to do? They try to find a middle ground any way they can. Vaughn Grissom basically didn't really have a spot on the Braves, right? They got Jared Kelenic. There was really nowhere for Vaughn Grissom to go, right? I mean, remember he lost out on the shortstop job last offseason, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Listen, everyone. I'm actually going to pull this video up because if you go back, listen, I just thought of something. Everyone, if you want to see something a little weird right now, literally just thought of this. Guess where? My goodness, I can't believe I even just remembered this. Do you remember where Vaughn Grissom hit his first home run? I'm just saying. I mean, I mean, what a coincidence. The first home run of Vaughn Grissom's career at Fenway Park. I remember it was an absolute nuke. I am really excited about Vaughn Grissom. This is awesome. I love this. That guy hit an absolute tank for his first home run, and it was at Fenway Park. What was that, off of Darwinson Hernandez? Boom! Oh my goodness. Red Sox fans, you should be very, very excited about this. I am stoked for this. Vaughn Grissom gets a chance. He gets to go show what he can do. This guy was one of the top young players coming up. Braves fans were very excited about Vaughn Grissom. But this really shows right now at the Braves. Obviously, you couldn't really do anything with Vaughn Grissom, and they didn't want to wait around for Dylan Cease. Right? That was the one name they were connected with. And Chris Getz, he's got his, he's sitting on his hands, right? He's just waiting for all the pitchers to come off the board, and then he'll explore trades. Or maybe he doesn't even trade Dylan Cease. Maybe he just waits until the deadline, right? So the Braves said, all right, we're not waiting around anymore. We got a guy in Vaughn Grissom. The Red Sox need a second baseman, a right-handed bat who we just saw hit an absolute missile over the Green Monster for his first ever home run. I love this. I'm sorry. Listen, I love Chris Sale. Chris Sale was amazing. I mean, my goodness, the strikeout numbers that he put up. And if you go back to last year, I mean, he wasn't really looking like his old self all that much, but 20 games, 100 innings, I'm thinking he's going to have a pretty decent season. I think he's going to get some more innings this year. I think you got to let him kind of build up a little bit. When guys miss time like he did, it takes time, especially when you're going up against major league pitching. And I think the Braves feel confident about that. Fangraphs, they are projecting him for 140 innings. I think that's realistic, right? He got the 100 innings under his belt last year. Has a normal offseason. He's going to have a normal spring training. And, when you look at the numbers last year, the FIP was pretty healthy at a 3.80 compared to the ERA of a 4.30. Remember, the Red Sox had bad defense last year. So, overall, I think Chris Sale is going to be a really nice addition for the Atlanta Braves rotation, also considering if he does stay healthy, right? If we look at this rotation right now, I mean, this is a really, when you look at this rotation on paper, this is great. I mean, listen, my Strider, Fried, Morton, Sale, and Elder, that is really nice. Listen, I think the Braves, this is a really, in my opinion, it really depends. We're going to have to wait and see, but I think this is a win-win for both sides. Considering both sides needed something, sure, maybe the values don't line up exactly. Again, I'm not seeing anything about cash. There wasn't anything mentioned by Jeff Passan, unless I missed something. Did anything come up about cash? I'm not quite sure. I don't think there was anything for cash. So unless what is there 17 mil? Where is who put out the 17 million? Mark Feinstein said the 17 million. Here, okay, cool. Sorry everyone. I didn't listen. I had to hop on here. I was eating a nice little chicken and rice meal. I was kind of just hanging out, and then all of a sudden, bang. This all happened. So let me pull up Mark Feinstein. So apologies, everyone. I am still getting caught up with everything here. So, okay. Well, if there is cash involved, this is really going to be... where is Feinstein saying cash? Or Bob Nightingale did? Goodness gracious. My brain is everywhere right now. Okay, here we go. Cool. So, Bob Nightingale. Thank you so much, everyone in the chat. Thank you so much. So, Bob Nightingale, the Red Sox are paying $17 million of Chris Sale's $27.5 million. So, that works out very perfectly now. So, the Red Sox, they're going to be sending over some cash here. They're going to be sending over $17 million. And look at that. This trade gets approved. And baseball trade values, they are right on the money. It is considered a major overpay from the Braves' point of view. However, it is still approved. So baseball trade values, they get yet another trade right. So the Lonely Wolf, the House of the Moon, thank you so much for that super chat. I do appreciate you, my friend. You just did put here $17 million of the contract. Sorry, I was scrambling. I was trying to see if anyone else had it. So thank you for that super chat. I do appreciate you. I did see some other super chats come in, so just hold on for those. I will get to those in a little bit. But overall, especially now with the cash, this to me, I think it's a win-win for both sides. I think it's very even. The Braves, they're essentially getting Chris Sale here, for, again, I'm doing the math in my, so you're getting him for basically $10 million. That's not bad. And actually, if you go take a look at Chris Sale, when it came to his value last year, Chris Sale last year with what he did on the field was worth right around $17 million. So they're, compare for what he did last year, I mean, that's actually a bargain for the Braves. Yeah, sure, you had to give up Vaughn Grissom, but Vaughn Grissom, he had nowhere to play, right? So at the end of the day, Vaughn Grissom was just a really good asset for the Braves, really, because you really couldn't do anything with him. So if you actually look here over the last 3 years, so if I'm looking at the average here, 6.5 plus 1.3 plus the 16.9, divide that by 3, the 3 seasons, that comes out to an average of around $8 million. On average, that's what Chris Sale's average value has been over the last 3 years. So, yeah, it kind of lines up with his 3-year average when it comes to his value. So, I think this is a great move for the Atlanta Braves, and that's not coming from a biased point of view. That's not coming from a guy that's been a Chris Sale fan who has loved Chris Sale ever since he came over from the White Sox. I'm looking at this simply from a baseball point of view, from an economical point of view. I think this is a really good trade for the Atlanta Braves, right? They're really not spending a whole lot on him. You gave up an asset that you had really nowhere to play. And the Red Sox, they get a second baseman. So now for the Atlanta Braves, where does this put them? Where does this put them in terms of competing? Listen, go back to the postseason this past year, right? This past October. Couldn't get by the Phillies, right? And I would argue if the Braves had a 3, then, maybe that series goes a little bit differently, right? So you had Strider, and Fried in that series, but Morton was out. So again, it is a very big if. So that's the one thing I can see Braves fans saying, hey, if he's healthy, this is going to be really good. So to me, if he's healthy and he's good to go, yeah, Braves fans, I think you should be excited, but you got to proceed with caution too. You don't know what's going to happen. And honestly, and to be completely honest with you, I really do think, I think Chris Sale, if he were to be in a Red Sox uniform coming into 2024, the guy was going to go out there and compete regardless. We know how much of a competitor Chris Sale is. But I would actually argue, I think maybe a change of scenery could have been good for him. If you go back to, what was going on when he was trying to come back in 2022, right, until his thumb exploded or his finger exploded at Yankee Stadium. Remember, this guy was ripping TVs off walls. He fell off his bike. He was having, to me, just like, the guy was just like going crazy. I don't want to say going crazy. That's not what I mean. But like he was really trying to get back to the field, right? And this guy, uber competitive, really wanted to just get back out there, right? And he was just kind of, frustration after frustration after frustration. Last year, they're having a bit of a bum shoulder at one point from fatigue, really. I would actually argue that I think this is probably good for Chris Sale, the person, right? I think it's a fresh start, a team that is in win-now mode. I'm not saying the Red Sox can't compete next year. We'll have to see what they can do for the rest of this offseason. But I think this is going to be good for Sale to be around, this kind of a team, right, in this environment where this team is stacked. They are loaded. I think that's going to be good for Sale. And I think, of course, this guy's a competitor, but I think being in this rotation and being surrounded by the star power, I think Sale, he can kind of just ease back in a little bit. I'm just saying. Hold on just 1 second, everyone. 1 sec. Just 1 second, everyone. 1 second. Okay, so sorry about that, everyone. Just got a phone call. I had to answer that. But yeah, that I think this is going to be good for Chris Sale. Ultimately, he can kind of just ease back into things, you know, and a lot of pressure is taken off of him. And I feel like with the Red Sox, there's just going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders, right? So I just think from a person point of view, right, from a mental point of view, I think it's going to be good for Sale ultimately. And you know what? It's a low risk move for the Atlanta Braves. Yeah, you lost Grissom, but again, for like the third time now I'm saying this, he really had nowhere to play, right? And you're not really paying him that much money. The Red Sox are going to front that bill. So now, I know there's a lot of Red Sox fans in here. I would imagine there's a lot of Red Sox fans in here. Everyone, if you can, hit that like button for me. That's all I ask from you. Just hit that little thumb. So here we go. Now, when it comes to the Red Sox, so they basically just cleared out around $10 million, right? So because again, they're going to be paying the 17. Well, actually, does that? I can't remember if that goes towards the luxury tax or not. I can't fully remember. You know what? Actually, here's what I'll do. I'm going to go to Red Sox payroll here. Red Sox fans, if you don't know Red Sox payroll, I just discovered this guy like last week. I had no idea who this guy was. And yeah, I definitely learned a thing or two when it comes to payroll. So I'm sure he has already updated this. And he has. He has indeed. Here we go. So Red Sox payroll, I would say the most trusted source for Red Sox payroll sources out there. Right now, with Sale and paying salary, right, you are looking at around $200 million, $201 million currently for Oscar Arias. I am not muted, my friend. I am not muted. You're looking at around $201 million overall. So, and remember, the CBT is at 237. So the Red Sox have roughly around $36 million to play with. Now you're thinking, man, what now with this rotation, right? They got to go out and add someone. Now, could there be another move possibly on the horizon? Like I mentioned earlier when I first came on, Kenley Jansen's name has come up a little bit. That's $16 million right there. Maybe they end up eating a little bit if they trade him, but could that be a salary where you can maybe clear off the books, possibly? One idea that I had come up with was possibly like a Kenley Jansen for like a Brandon Drury kind of a swap where pay a little bit of his, pay a little bit of that salary and then maybe it evens out a little bit. Because Brandon Drury right now, because you got Rengifo at second. The thing with Drury is he can move around, so the Angels necessarily didn't have to move him, and he's got some power there. But I'm thinking, right, second baseman, Kenley Jansen. I guess I was sort of on the right track, right? I was thinking Kenley Jansen, maybe go get yourself Brandon Drury. So instead, they traded a different pitcher in Chris Sale and got Vaughn Grissom, which I like that idea way better because Vaughn Grissom is going to be way cheaper, and we have him under a lot of control. So overall, this really helps out the Red Sox payroll flexibility. And now, let's say they don't trade Jansen, right? So at this point, if you trade Jansen, I don't know, now that you have your second baseman, I guess maybe you could just trade Jansen basically as like a salary dump kind of a thing. So who knows? Let's just imagine Jansen stays on. Now you're looking at around $36 million to play with. We have seen Teoscar Hernandez in the news in the past week. And actually, on baseballtradevalues.com, yeah, I'm going to do a bit of a shameless plug here because I am a BTV fan and we're good friends. Right now, they have subscriptions where for the year, all right, you pay for a yearly subscription. If you use my code HYDE, you get 10% off for the whole year. With that subscription, you can actually go look up player values, where you can look up possible free agent values or free agent contract values. You can look at future extension values, as well as even future trade values as well. So if you're looking at Teoscar Hernandez right now, and I'm going to say this right now, they have been pretty accurate. We just had Frankie Montas sign with the Reds today for about $16 million. And if we go here and if we look at his possible value over 1 year, they were projecting 16.4. So this tool has been very accurate when it comes to free agent values so far this offseason, as well as extension values. So do keep that in mind. But again, very accurate. So if I go look up Teoscar Hernandez, they're actually, and this is why I think there is a bit of a delay, right? Because if you're looking at Teoscar Hernandez, remember, he is looking for a 4-year deal, according to the reports. He's holding out for that 4th year. They're projecting an AAV of a little under $11 million for Teoscar Hernandez. And you got to think here, he's already 31 years old. The numbers have been declining over the last few years. Projections don't look amazing for him next year. And I know people think Teoscar Hernandez, the right-handed bat at Fenway Park. Remember, Teoscar Hernandez, he's more of a guy that sprays it all over the place, right? He can pull for sure, but when you actually look at the exit velocities from him, from anywhere from 95 to 100 miles an hour, he tends to actually hit it out more to center and opposite field. So don't think Teoscar Hernandez is essentially going to be just a dude hitting bombs over the monster. Now, what I actually think Teoscar Hernandez could be for the Red Sox, because you always think with Teoscar Hernandez, he's got a lot of speed, but his base running skills aren't amazing, right? You think with a guy with that much speed, he'd probably have a ton of stolen bases, but he's not a great base runner at the end of the day. But what I think that actually could do for him, I think you could actually see a couple more triples, right? And maybe even a couple more doubles at Fenway Park with the nooks and crannies. So I think Teoscar Hernandez could actually be a pretty good fit at Fenway Park. But if you did add him on a 4-year deal, they're projecting around $11 million. I think that could go higher because of the market. There's not really a whole lot of bats out there. So I wonder if you end up seeing a salary, maybe more 13 to 15 million per year. That's something I'm thinking, right? On a 1-year deal, they do project him for 13 million. And then as you add more years, the AAV gets lower. I think ultimately what you're going to see with Teoscar Hernandez, I could see like a 4-year, maybe like a 55, something like that. Let's just say, just to keep it safe, let's say Teoscar Hernandez is going to be more like 15 million per year. Just a middle ground, maybe even a high kind of a number there for what he's going to end up getting for an AAV. So let's just say 15, right? So if you sign Teoscar Hernandez for 15 million per year, well, now that's going to bring you down to around 20, 21 million left, right? Unless they move Jansen. So, but I'm not counting Jansen right now. So you got to think, if they sign Hernandez, well, is that going to be enough money to go after someone like Jordan Montgomery, right? And if we go look at Jordan Montgomery, I would imagine he's going to end up getting probably around 24, 25 per year. Right now, BTV, they are projecting him, let's just say a 6-year deal. They are projecting him for around 25 per year. If it ends up being 7 years, then it ends up being around 24. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think, honestly, when I think of Jordan Montgomery and the Red Sox, I go back to 2009 when they signed John Lackey for the 5-year, $85 million deal. When you take that $85 million from back in 2009 and you account for inflation, that actually comes out today to around 121 million. So I wonder if the Red Sox, I don't think they're going to want to go a whole lot of years for Jordan Montgomery. And maybe they just don't even want Jordan Montgomery. I'm just thinking if they do, they probably don't want to go long-term for him, right? Because he already is 30. And the Red Sox, they tend not to give out those contracts, right? So to me, the best comparison to Montgomery would be John Lackey from that time, right? Remember, John Lackey only got the 5-year deal. So that's what I think with Jordan Montgomery. Maybe you do a 5 and a 6, but if you do 5 years, right, you're looking at probably around like 26 per year, 25 per year. And that's already going to be kind of making it a bit tight, right? So if you sign Montgomery and Hernandez, you're probably over the luxury tax at that point. And I'm sorry, I don't see John Henry going over the luxury tax. I don't. I just really don't see it. All right. I think he wants the Red Sox to work under that 237 CBT. So to me, if you sign Hernandez, I don't think you're getting Montgomery unless you move Jansen as well. Maybe I could see that, right? And if you do move Jansen, you can move Tanner Howe, Garrett Whitlock, maybe even Josh Winkowski. I'll even say this. Some people are going to think I'm crazy, but I'll be honest with you. I know this guy is not going to probably want to do that, especially with free agency coming up. But listen, I would not mind Nick Pivetta the closer. I would not mind Nick Pivetta the closer at all. I know, when he moved to the bullpen last year, he did well, but he had said, like, I want to be a starter, right? Listen, I would take Nick Pivetta the closer. I would. Guy's nasty. Has really good stuff. I would love that. With the strikeout numbers that Pivetta has, I wouldn't mind him being the closer. But if it's not him, right, you got Houck, you got Whitlock. Winkowski, listen, I wouldn't mind that mustache closing out games. I think that'd be amazing. So I think it's right now, if Hernandez is going to be a guy that you get, I wonder if that takes Montgomery out of the picture. But then I think, okay, you know what? Now we can kind of see some dominoes falling a little bit. Now you got Vaughn Grissom, right? Now you got Vaughn Grissom. So let's go take a look here. Let's see what the Red Sox lineup is looking like. I'm guessing Vaughn Grissom is already penciled in for second base here, which he is, yes. Vaughn Grissom is second base. Oh, man, I love this move. Ooh, I like this move, man. I really like Vaughn Grissom. When that dude hit that bomb at Fenway Park, I'm like, wow, that dude could be pretty good. So happy we got Vaughn Grissom, man. This is awesome. I am sad Chris Sale's gone, though. But I'm glad we at least got a guy in Vaughn Grissom there. So now let's say Grissom ends up being your guy, right? Let's say he ends up being good for you, ends up becoming like, who knows, maybe in like that middle of the order, top of the order kind of a bat. And let's actually see what Vaughn Grissom is projected for next year. So if we're taking a look at this, funny enough, they were saying that he can end up being the platoon guy with Jared Kelenic. And now all of a sudden he's the starter. So they're not really projecting him for amazing numbers next year, but that's over 55 games, right? So if you take a look here, Fangraph WAR 0.8 over the 55. So divide by 55. And then let's say he ends up maybe playing a full season. I'll just say 150. Over a 150 season, 150 games, he's coming out to around roughly like a 2.2 Fangraph WAR. I think that's fine. If you end up getting Vaughn Grissom hitting 280, an on base in the mid threes, a slugging in the low fours, I'm fine with that. I'm really fine with that. Like as like a minimum, that's okay with me. I don't need this guy to be hitting, bombs left and right. I don't need that. But we'll see. Fangraphs, when you're looking at their grades for Vaughn Grissom going back to 2022, the hit tool was only at a 20, 45 for the future, but they saw a guy that had some more power there. All right, overall, they had a future value of 45 for him. If you go back to 2022, when he came up for the 41 games, right, hit 291, 353 on base. The slugging was a little low at 440, but the WRC plus was a 121. So, and if we look at the splits, let me actually just make sure. I feel like, yeah, he's definitely going to be, in his career, a little better against the lefties, but still fine against righties when it comes to the batting average. So, I think there is a lot of potential for Vaughn Grissom to end up being the second baseman for the next several years for the Red Sox. Let's say that ends up happening, right? Let's say he's your opening day second baseman for the next 3 years. Well, now all of a sudden Nick York is sitting right there. I mean, this guy is basic. If Vaughn Grissom ends up being your guy, Nick York is basically blocked, unless York maybe moves to an outfield position. Now I wonder if York could be trade bait, right? Just thinking about that, because York, remember, when he first got drafted, right, you basically just drafted a second baseman, right? Because he had shoulder surgery before he was drafted, and his arm strength was in question at that point. So really, he's looked at as a second baseman. But then I think, with an outfield position, I don't know, like with the arm strength, I don't know if that's really going to be a home for him. So really, it seems like second base is going to be the home for him, right? And with York last year, he was pretty good in Double-A, right? He was going through some injuries in 2022, but last year, he got his numbers back up a little bit. We still need to see more there. Hit just under 270, the 350 on base, the 435 slugging, the 13 homer. So second base, there's not. I think there's, to me, baseball trade values, when you look at his value, I think they're a little too generous. That's just my opinion, right? They're looking at around a $13 million value. The thing with York, the reason I think his value is even this high is because of his age, right? He's still very young. So that is one thing to consider with York. So it's not like he's a 24, 25-year-old prospect at this point. He's still very young, 21. So again, you could put someone like York in a deal now. So we'll have to wait and see. Now the question is, what's the next move for the Red Sox when it comes to the rotation? I mean, now you're looking at this rotation. Lucas Giolito is not your ace, sorry. Opening day right now, I mean, I think Brian Bayo is your opening day guy, right? But now this makes me think there has to be something next. You can't, if you go back to Craig Breslow talking at the general manager meetings, right? He, and after he got hired as the new chief for the Red Sox, he said the number one goal is starting pitching, right? Well, you added Giolito, right? I think Giolito can end up being pretty good, right? Put him with Bailey, get a little bit more, get things a little more under control with him, right? Giolito, if you remember, he still got one of the best changeups in the game. I think work on the location of his pitches. Maybe there could be a bit of a mechanical issue going on where maybe his command and location has been a bit affected. But Giolito, he was leaving a lot of stuff over the plate last year. So they got to work on that. They got to mix and match with where he's throwing in the zone. And I think just work on that, keep going with that changeup. That's a nasty pitch that he has. And even the fastball has a little bit of life too. It has vertical movement. All right. So I think Giolito, he could end up being pretty solid. And I see a lot of people, they look at the 41 home runs and they think, oh, green monster. Oh, man, this guy's going to be giving up a ton of home runs. Not necessarily. I actually think the monster can maybe even help him out a little bit, right? Because I think a lot of those home runs can end up turning more into doubles, right? If you go look at the long angles that he was giving up, I think personally a lot of those balls would not have gone over the monster last year. I'm not saying it makes it any better, but at least a double is better than a home run at the end of the day. I think you're going to see some better numbers from Giolito next year. I am confident with that. Now, is he going to be an ace? No. I don't see that. I wouldn't want him as my my ace going into the year. Basically, what I'm saying here is there has to be another move. There has to be. If you're going into 2024 with this rotation, I think these guys can all throw. If you give them a full season, they're all, I think, going to give you some decent innings, right? But you need a guy. And now that if you think about it, right, it seems like the Red Sox, they're now transitioning into the next phase of the Boston Red Sox, right? Take a look at some of these guys that have departed over the last few years, right? Xander Bogaerts, gone. Christian Vasquez, gone. Chris Sale now, gone, right? David Price and Mookie Betts, gone. So now you are starting to really transition, and I wonder here if they're going to be having their eyes on some young starting pitching out there, right? Guys like Jesus Luzardo, guys like Logan Gilbert. I wonder if that is going to be something they go after, right? Because they're now looking to that next phase And you got a guy in Brian Bayo, who, in my opinion, I see Brian Bayo more as a Marcus Stroman kind of a type. I don't see, unless he gets the strikeout numbers up, I envision Brian Bayo being like a really good 2 or 3, unless the strikeout numbers can come up a little bit. He's got the velocity, right? To me, I see Bayo at this point as like a really good 2 or 3, kind of like how Marcus Stroman was. Marcus Stroman was not an ace, right? He's not an ace, right? He's like a 2-3. That's kind of what I see Bayo as, unless Bayo can really take that next step, which he could. So, I think they go after that other young guy to put him in the rotation with Bayo, right? If you're looking at Bayo, this guy's not even 25 years old. I think they got to go after another young guy, 2 guys that can lead the rotation for the next several years. And I think Logan Gilbert, to me, he is my dream, right? He is my absolute dream guy to get, right? Tyler, why keep Raffy if we're rebuilding? No, I don't think they're rebuilding. Well, they're not rebuilding. I think they're basically retooling, and they're trying to go into the next phase, while still trying to keep your team as talented as possible. It's a little painful. They're not necessarily rebuilding, but you got to remember with Devers, when they signed him, right, he was 26 years old. So that was an extension that made sense because he was young. So where Bogarts was almost 30, right, and the Red Sox, they didn't want to go, I think it was more than 6 years or 5 years, right, where the Padres just gave him like a 34-year deal or whatever the heck it was. So that's what I think is going to be happening here. And, because when I'm looking at the payroll, there's not a lot of wiggle room, especially if you sign Hernandez. And there is wiggle room, right? But not enough wiggle room, in my opinion, to go after Montgomery or Snell. I've been seeing a couple of people in the chat saying, well, how about Blake Snell? Blake Snell is probably going to cost more than Montgomery. So I don't know. I'm starting to think, when I'm looking at this, I see Teoscar Hernandez, and then you go after a young pitcher like Logan Gilbert is projected to only make $5 million for next year. Jesus Luzardo is only projected to make $6 million for next year. That's the kind of salary I think they're going to be looking for. If we're looking at some other options on the free agent market, let's go to the free agent tracker here on Fangraphs. I don't know. I don't know. Stroman, probably not. Stroman is they're projecting at $22 million. I think you'd have to go, if they're going to add a free agent, I think you could maybe sign Woodruff. Maybe it's like a project type. I don't know. Maybe Clevinger. That just feels, ugh. Paxton they have been connected to. Paxton has been rumored to maybe be going back to Boston. I could see Paxton around $10 million for like a year, maybe an option on top of that. So let's say they bring back Paxton and Hernandez with $36 million. Let's say Hernandez is 15, Paxton is 10. Well, that's 25 right there. So that leaves you with only around like $11 million to play with to stay under the CBT. So at that point, I don't know, because teams, when they want to be under the CBT, they also want to keep some room, right? Just in case you make any trades and whatever, like during the season, right? So you always want to keep that cushion there. So Paxton and Hernandez really puts you, that's going to put you at what? At right around 226, 227. So that's going to give you around $10 million in wiggle room. And at that point, is that going to be the Red Sox offseason? Hernandez and Paxton? I don't know. Unless they move Jansen. So if they move Jansen, that could be up to $16 million that you're getting off the books. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to go one of two ways. I think it's going to be Hernandez and Paxton, or they go after a young guy, right? And I think Hernandez is going to happen. I just have like this gut feeling that it's going to happen. he just fits what the Red Sox are trying to do, right? Paxton, yeah, I could see that, right? I don't know. I don't know. I think the big thing is, what do you do with Jansen? That's the one thing I'm going to be thinking about for the next couple of weeks. Do they try to clear off that payroll? And if we're looking at some other payrolls or other salaries on the payroll for the Red Sox, I mean, they're not really going to be getting rid of any of these guys. Devers, no. Story, no. Giolito, obviously, no. Yoshida, no. I mean, to me, I'm keeping Chris Martin. I mean, this guy was really good in that bullpen last year. He's cheaper. So Jansen is the guy I move, right? You could maybe move Pivetta, but why would you move Pivetta at this point? I mean, to me now, if you move Pivetta, it's like, what's even happening? You know? So, and I'll say this too. Let's say, if the Red Sox do bring back Hernandez and Paxton, $25 million combined roughly, that's going to give them around $10 million. Well, you could still go get a young guy, right? You could still go get Jesus Luzardo or Logan Gilbert, and that would still put you under the CBT, right? And maybe you clear out one of these other, salaries. Maybe, if you have a deal with the Mariners or the Marlins, maybe you could send back Nick Pivetta in a deal, right? That would be around $7 million right there. You could definitely attach something like that. So that's what I'm thinking. Those are the three things that I'm looking for the Red Sox to, I think, realistically do. Teoscar Hernandez, James Paxton, and a young starting pitcher. That's what I think. Leonardo Martins, no, I don't think there's a chance on Burns. I don't think they're going to do that. I just don't see it, right? He's a one-year guy. If they sign him to an extension, yeah, I'd be all over it. But at this point now, if you traded for Burns and signed him to an extension, that's definitely gonna put you over that CBT, right? And then so I don't see that happening, right? And I don't see the Red Sox really doing that. Corey, Robbie, what about Yariel? I would love Yariel Rodriguez, right? I guess reports have suggested he's looking for maybe like 80, 85 over 5. So you're looking at around $18 million per year. I don't know, 15 to 18 million per year. I just think it's steep, right? You don't even know what his future is. I think he's a bullpen guy, but the Red Sox have been looking at him like a starter. So I don't know, man, but there's definitely going to be more happening here with the Red Sox. Absolutely. Like, they're far from done. There's going to be some more moves, I would imagine. They're really, this is a big one, man. This is a big one. I didn't expect Chris Sale to get traded. He was the last guy. I didn't even ever think about Chris Sale as a trade candidate. Not once did it ever pop into my head. Not once, like thinking, oh, okay, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, maybe. No, not at all. He never came up to me as a trade candidate, right? Because I figured, the injuries, like, what team would want him? Well, there was a team that wanted him, all right, and that was the Atlanta Braves. But overall, I think this is a win-win. I think this is a really good trade for both sides. I really like this a lot. Yeah, it's sad seeing Chris Sale done in a Red Sox jersey. There was a lot of good memories with Chris Sale, right? 300 strikeouts in a season. There was that game against the Rockies, obviously closing out the World Series. That was massive. This was a guy you were excited to watch pitch in a Red Sox jersey, right? Every fifth day. Now, I don't think he had the same aura as a Pedro Martinez. People like to use that word a lot lately, aura. Nah, Chris Sale was definitely someone you wanted to go watch. Like, oh, yeah. All right, Chris Sale's pitching today. Cool. All right, let's go to Fenway. No, Pedro Martinez, when he was on the mound, everyone, stop what you're doing. Pedro's pitching, right? That was kind of that was a difference there. But overall, I think the Red Sox got a good deal here. Yeah, they had to pay a little bit of money, but you end up saving $10 million on your payroll, roughly. And then you get a young second baseman who first home run happened to be at Fenway Park. So you have that connection there. I always love when there's like a little connection, right? You can think back to something that happened in the past, and you're like, that's cool, right? Let's get to some Super Chats. Super Chats. Here we go. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by here today. We are just at right around 300 likes. We're at 290. If you can help us get to 300, I will love you forever. Here we go. Got a lot of Super Chats in here. Let's get to it. I probably won't hang out for too much longer. It is a Saturday. I don't want to be keeping all of you on your beautiful Saturday before New Year's. Chosen 186. Thank you for becoming a member. And you said, hey, today is my birthday. Happy birthday, Chosen One. Have a good birthday today. Hey, right before the new year. Nathan, how you doing? $1.99. Red Sox need to trade for rotation help. Luzardo? Yeah, I think one of the young guys for sure. The two guys, I mean, I'm probably leaving someone out, but the two guys I would love, and it seems to be good fits when it comes to a trade, right? Based off of like the Marlins and the Mariners needing a bat. I think you could work something out where you could send back Duran, prospects, right? Maybe a picture in there too. Mag, $4.99. Guess this opens up a potential Meyer trade you talked about last night, unless the Red Sox can flip Grissom now. I don't see them flipping him, right? Because they've been looking for a right-handed bat. I think he just makes sense for the Red Sox. I never thought of Vaughn Grissom as a guy for the Red Sox, to be honest. But yeah, I think Meyer right now, I think there is something there. I do. The Lonely Wolf will house Alone at the Moon. Love that name. $2. You know he's going to win 20 games with the Braves. I don't think he wins 20 games. I think he's going to be that 3. And funny enough, where does Chris Sale actually? Where does he pitch? Like, what is he, the 4th starter? Right? Who's Strider's going to get the ball. Game 1, opening day. Game 2 will be Max Fried. Who gets it on game number 3? Is it Morton? Sale? Probably, I would guess Morton, honestly. I don't see a 20-game season, but I think if he can just go, I think if he can give you 150 innings, I could see that, right? I think he could be pretty decent. Heath D, $10 super chat. It's a glorious day to be a Red Sox fan. I've been waiting for this for years. He's injured. He's lost his stuff. And the dude is a jerk. I will say, I wasn't necessarily waiting, but I remember thinking, yeah, once that salary comes off the payroll, that will be pretty nice. I didn't think it was going to happen this way, right? I thought we were going to ride out the contract. Heath D, thank you for $10. What do we got here? Professionally certified hater, $5 super chat. Braves cheating pitch lab about to make Chris Sale into a suddenly healthy starter. Sub 2.5 ERA, 240 Ks, goes 23-3. Pain. I don't know about all that. But I think Chris Sale could end up having a really solid season. I'll go 150 innings. I'll go like an ERA, like 3.4, 3.5. I'll go a FIP around like a 3. I think he could have a solid season. Give you around 11 strikeouts per 9. I think it's a good pickup for the Braves. Lonely Wolf will house Alone at the Moon. I read this one earlier. The $17 million the Red Sox are paying. Thank you again for that. William, how you doing? What are the Red Sox doing? Are they trying to finish last? I don't think that. I think they're just trying to clear money off the books. They're trying to get some more younger. They're trying to get younger a little bit, right? They're just trying to go into the next phase. Carlos Grover, thank you for 99 for the $1. Chosen 186, $5. Great birthday present. Thank you, AA. Hey, I think for Braves fans, you should be pretty happy about this. You got a pitcher who's had a lot of success for a guy. He was completely blocked. There was nothing you're going to do with Vaughn Grissom. Richie, $2 super chats. Super happy to hear you are full-time now. Congrats. Richie, thank you so much. In case anyone didn't know, this is now my full-time job. I was a teacher for 10 years, and I love doing this stuff, man. And I've decided to do this now full-time. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. The Lonely Wolf will house Alone at the Moon. One more time, $2. There's no pressure on Sale with the Braves. Yeah, said that earlier, right? There's no pressure. None at all. SoundFX09, $10. SoundFX, how you doing, my friend? How you doing? Can I vote both teams as winners? Yes, you can. I think it's a good trade for both sides. Grissom gives Boston an excellent utility hitter that needs field. And that's another thing, too. He can play some other positions. He can go play on the outfield. So I think there's also that aspect, too. Alex Cora will like that. And he's going to give you that little bit of pop from the right side. I think it's good. Atlanta gets additional depth and experience that the rotation needs. Win-win trade. I think this is a win-win, especially with the cash. I think that's a big part of that, too, right? So that definitely makes it more even. We got Adit Mahmoud, $1.99. Is Baltimore the front runner for Cease now? I don't even know. What are the White Sox even going to do? I don't know. I mean, you would think Baltimore, they're well set up to trade for Cease or even Luzardo. I could see that. Sean Logan, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that. Everyone, we have memberships. If you do want to sign up, go for it. Mag, $1.99. Why not get Bauer for a similar contract to Giolito? I'm very interested to see where Bauer goes. He just posted something the other day. It was very like a cryptic kind of a thing where he asked you like a scenario where, how did it go again? Where he said, like, if a team asks you or interviews you for a job, but then they go and interview your friend as well to like go get some more information and stuff like that, and like how would that make you? I don't know. I can't remember the exact thing he said. He put out like this long thing where it pretty much kind of sounded like how his free agency is going. I think Bauer can still pitch. Say what you want about the off the field stuff. I'm looking at just the picture. I think he can pitch, right? Listen, if John Rocker back in the day could stay in the game, I know this was obviously back then, but I think if John freaking Rocker found a way to stay on the field, I think Bauer can find a way too, right? Honestly, I think like a small market team. Well, now I thought maybe the Reds, go back to the Reds, but now that they got Montas, I don't see that. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Bauer. I would imagine he's going to, I don't know. I think he can land something maybe later on in the offseason. Prodigy Heat, $1.99. What about getting a lefty reliever like Matt Moore? Yeah, I'd like Matt Moore. I think he's pretty under the radar, to be honest with you. But yeah. All right, everyone. Well, again, kind of if you are just coming in, I'm seeing people are starting to trickle out now. The news has kind of died off, but let me just see if there was any other bits that came out about this. If there's any other news, my goodness, the notifications are through the roof. Where is... I can't find anything on here. I don't know what's going on. Oh, here we go. All right, so... yeah, nothing really else. I mean, the Braves, they put out a statement. So they had this. I always love how the Braves are putting out stuff. The Braves today acquired Chris Sale and cash for Vaughn Grissom. They basically just go into Chris Sale's numbers, being a World Series champion, the strikeouts. They talk about how he was drafted. But I love how they put like 2 full paragraphs about Chris Sale, and then they just put like this tiny little bit about Grissom. All right, well, see you later, Grissom. Yeah, Grissom, he was 11th round pick. He did okay. All right, see you later. All right, welcome, Chris Sale. But yeah, nothing really else coming out from that. I think that's pretty much it. I'm not seeing really anything else. I will double check one more time. I thought I had saw some, I thought I saw like Heyman put some stuff out. Okay, we got some stuff from, here we go, Chris Cotillo. Chris Cotillo, he had a couple of tweets here about 20 minutes ago. The Red Sox can use 10.5 on the savings to go back into the free agent market for more and can now more freely dangle middle infield prospects in a trade talks for starters. Yeah, I talked about that earlier with York, so you could definitely include York there. But then I also wonder, too. Now, I don't necessarily think that means that automatically means you dangle Marcelo Meyer, right? Nick York is a second baseman, right? So let's just make sure we have that one clear. So Marcelo Meyer, I don't think this necessarily, it's not like the Red Sox got a young shortstop, right? They got a young second baseman. So let's be very clear. But, Vaughn Grissom, he can play short, but is he a shortstop, right? There was always that concern. Like, is he, like, really a shortstop? I don't know, man. But I think Marcelo Meyer definitely can be traded. But I think this more means for York, right? That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Chris Sale had an up-and-down tenure in Boston, but in terms of accountability and candor, there was no one better. A reporter's dream. Not a wonder why he'd waive his no trade to go to Atlanta. Ready-made winning situation, right? And, yeah, he lives in Florida, so that's something good for him. But, yeah, Chris Sale, he was always someone, he never made excuses. I really did enjoy Chris Sale, the person. Man, Chris Cateo, I'm sorry, my friend. I feel like I beat you on everything with this stream. Everything he's putting, I already talked about like an hour ago. Sorry, Chris. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Peter Gammon's here. Peter Gammons is always putting out something. Chris Sale, 2003, versus Baltimore, 4 games started, 10.06 ERA. Versus everyone else, 16 games started. What? Very random tweet. What is with Peter Gammons and his random tweets? But yeah. Well, that's pretty much it, everyone. This was crazy. I did not expect this. This shocked me completely. I'll say it. This was the last guy I thought would get traded. But everyone, do me a favor. Once we're done here, I'm about to close up shop. If you can, go to the comments, right? Not the chat, not the live chat, the comments. Go leave a comment for me. Tell me what you think. Give me your thoughts on the trade, right? Who do you think wins the trade? The Red Sox, the Braves? You think it's pretty even? What do you think? Tell me in the comments. What do you think it means for the Braves and their chances for a World Series? What do you think it means for the Red Sox moving forward? Go leave a comment, and I will try to answer those. So, everyone, thank you so much for coming out today. I was not expecting this at all, but definitely a shocker. So everyone, if we do have any more news, I will be here. I'm not planning on going live tonight or tomorrow, right? It is New Year's, so if I don't see you until then, have a great New Year, and I will see you in 2024. Thank you, everyone, and I'll talk to you next time.